The AEW video game is reportedly in crisis. Plus, a released WWE star has been announced for a major indie show, and a former WWE writer is launching a new wrestling promotion. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Fight Forever, clap, 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 clap. Not only a chant, but also the video game.
Yes.
Fight Forever, the video game, has... Now, clips emerged yesterday.
Yeah.
A few people went... Wow, okay. Now,
bearing in mind it is stuff that's not finished yet.
Yeah, that's it.
I even had the same impression when I saw like some of the the Chris Statlander stuff that came out, and I was like, I get it, it's not finished yet. Some things look a bit weird, but
like the City of Coventry, it'll be lovely when it's finished.
Yes.
Sports Gamer Online have revealed that there is some issues between Ukes and AEW, though. There is reportedly a bit of crisis between the two, the relationship being, according to SGO, far from positive. Now, according to those close to the game's development, Omega has found himself frustrated and hating working with Ukes. There have been multiple instances of arguments over the game's direction, as well as constraints on development. AEW has invested significant money into development, but the game is way over budget at this point, and it's required extra investment even. But the specific amount wasn't mentioned. These budget issues have led to a number of features of the game being either less than originally planned or cut altogether. Now, AEW are keen to increase the roster size. It was Fraser and I yesterday talking about this, where they announced that the roster would be 50.
Yeah.
I think when you have, like, in terms of like the other games in the market, like your WWE 2K22 and Fire Pro Wrestling, who have rosters in the hundreds.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I remember having flipping Royal Rumble for the Mega Drive.
And how many was there?
I think 7.
I remember there was another one as well, I think, that was on Dreamcast. It was a Royal Rumble one, and you'd play the Royal Rumble, and it would just recycle the people that had just been thrown out of the ring.
Yeah, you'd think if you were making a Royal Rumble game, you'd have enough to fill a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Clearly not. So they're hoping for more than 50 with DLC post-release. However, Ukes says we'll do it if you give us a long-term deal to create more games for you. However, sources close to AEW have told SCO that the deal with Ukes is one and done.
Wow.
Another source says this relationship can be repaired, but it comes down to desire. If either side doesn't want to continue, AEW will look for a new partner. Ukes will almost certainly sign on for another game. They're even pushing for it, but AEW is nervous about any long-term deal after this. So, I mean, as you say, in terms of what we've seen, their development, and this is always the risk when you do, here's how the game's going, because if the game's doesn't look quite ready yet.
Exactly, people comment on it, don't they?
Yeah. So we've seen people calling it janky and stuff like that, but then it is early footage as well. But it doesn't sound like it's going particularly great behind the scenes as well.
No, and I think all of us would hope that it would be going much better, because everything surrounding it, right, seems almost like too good to be true. With all the WWF, it was like the No Mercy director or something got on board as well, wasn't it? And it just seems like, wow, this is actually happening. We're going to get something that kind of combines the old arcadey stuff that we really like with some more of the more simulation based stuff as well. I like the art direction and everything they're going in, but I guess I'm not sure. Obviously Kenny Omega loves his video games. I imagine the environment stepping from someone being super infatuated and loving video games, then actually stepping into more of like a role within the development team might be quite difficult at the same time, and sometimes I guess you can possibly be overly ambitious and be like, hey, it'd be amazing if we had this and this in the game, and then perhaps maybe there's constraints in terms of development, although it does say they've put a lot of money, significant money, into develellement too. So
and it's not unusual for a game to go over budget anyway.
No, exactly.
That's pretty common, but one we'll keep an eye on, certainly. We are hoping, because we're hoping for it, because we just like another wrestling game.
We do. Imagine though, right.
You don't want another 2K20.
Tom, imagine,
I'm imagining. All the people.
We've heard other rumors about perhaps after WWE 2K22 that WWE might move on to another studio to develop their next game. Imagine if AEW are like, guess what? We're gonna snatch you up 2K. After this one, if the one with Ukes is one and done.
I think, you know what? Had you thrown that to me about 2 years ago, I'd have gone, okay, sure. After the 2K20 debacle. But you know what? Off the back of 2K22,
who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
One to keep an eye on. Which former WWE star is off to GCW, Andrew?
It's the sexy mink coat wearing man himself, John Morrissey.
John Morrissey?
Well, John Morrison.
John
Morrissey. Dressed up like Morrissey for a bit.
Nobody loves me. That one. John Morrison, but no longer John Morrison.
No, he's Johnny Game Changer now, everybody. He is going to be at GCW Downward Spiral, and that will be his GCW debut as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, now, before you say anything, he did indeed wrestle for shows under the GCW banner during WrestleMania weekend. During WrestleMania week, he competed at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and Gringo Loco's The World on Lucha. But this is his first show on an official, full-fat GCW show. Hence the name Johnny Game Changer.
Yay!
I think you'll fit in well with GCW.
I think you will too. They've got amazing high flyers and stuff there too that come in and come out and do incredible matches. And I think, like you said, he's going to fit in perfectly. He managed to adapt to like Bloodsport stuff. He can do it all, can't he?
He absolutely can. Doubling back to AEW very briefly, we could potentially see AEW on HBO Max. So Eric Bischoff does a podcast called Strictly Business, and he had Mike Pandit on, who was the business affairs manager for Universal Studios. Used to be a wrestler as well, if I remember correctly. And he talks about the future of wrestling on streaming platforms. And talks about streamer fatigue, which is very much a thing at the moment, I think, which is why you're seeing numbers in places like Netflix just dropping off because we're all a bit tired. And he says, quote, you're getting to a point where justifying paying $10 a month for just a wrestling content is going to be very difficult for even all but the most hardcore of consumers. Somebody who probably watches wrestling 1 out of every 3 pay-per-views probably wouldn't. AEW's advantage is they have an average 1 million linear cable viewers week to week, and most of these people probably have access to an HBO Max. So I would imagine it's more valuable for HBO Max to have that content on HBO Max so they can grow their subscription base and retain it. Of those 1 million AEW fans, let's say half of them subscribe to HBO Max, that's a solid 400,000 fans and subs who are going to drop off at a lower rate than your average subscriber. At a lower rate than your average subscriber. Now, obviously, the deal with Discovery Plus is coming through, and there's no conversation on whether Discovery Plus would host AEW on their streaming services. There were conversations about AEW being part of a streaming service. And the one thing he actually does say here as well is he says, the fact that AEW has kind of plateaued around about 1 million viewers. Like, it hasn't grown as well as I think people were expecting, and a lot of people see this as a downfall for AEW, like they're not growing as a company. A good point that Pandit makes is that to a streaming service, that's actually a very strong positive because it shows a consistent, large viewership. Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing, if you can't have growth, at least have consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently. We'll end on a final bit about a former WWE writer. This is exciting.
Who is it? Well,
it is, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, it's not Scooby-Doo himself.
No, mate. Really? There he is.
Just like that, there he is.
He's on the latest episode with Wrestling with Freddie. I've really been enjoying that podcast, by the way.
I haven't listened to it, actually. Is it good?
Well, that was where we got the full story about Hayde Vanson last week.
Oh, okay.
The lost Undertaker opponent and why it was lost. And he announced on his podcast that he's starting his own independent wrestling promotion. It's Freddie Prinze Jr. He hopes to have the promotion running in about 18 months' time. And as opposed to other promoters who just kind of go, all right, I've booked the back room of a pub and 12 of my mates. Yeah. I know someone that has a ring. He's actually said, right, we're going to have, it's going to be a SAG-AFTRA production, which means that if you want to be on the show, you should have a SAG-AFTRA license. And it means that, insurance isn't going to be an issue for performers.
That's really good.
If they all endorse that way, then it makes things a little bit safe, a little bit more insured. Prince has said that he's going to work behind the scenes on characters and promos, and he wants to bring in a creative team to run the booking instead. He says he knows his strengths, he knows his weaknesses, and he says he'd be happier working behind the scenes and letting somebody else do the booking. He has a 3-year plan for a wrestling promotion with a focus on reality-based storylines.
I'm excited about that. Yeah. I think that could be very, very good. I like the reality-based stuff as well. I kind of want almost like NXT 2.0.
Oh, nice.
But dare I say better? Oh. Although the wrestling product in NXT 2.0 is good, it's all like the soap opera bollocks that's not that good. But I'm down for this. He seems to know what he wants, and he seems to be. I mean, he obviously is like a huge wrestling fan. He was a writer for WWE for a little while, and like he seems to know how to do it. So let's see what happens.
Not everybody happy about it. One source anonymously has approached Cultaholic and said, I was planning to run a SAG-AFTRA-based wrestling promotion in the same area, and I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Anonymous source.
Pulls a mask.
I'd read more, but I can't see without my glasses. More news throughout the day at cultaholic.com. Keys.
Love you, bye.